You have a squirrel cup? I love that you have a squirrel cup. That's great for us.
Yeah, squirrels are my top three favorite animals outside of dog.
All right, perfect. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Brew with Matt and Mike. We're on a glorious Tuesday. The reason being, it's the border battle. We got a lovely
Yes,
game
sir.
coming up tonight. The Badgers versus the Gophers. One that is near and dear to my heart, near and dear to all you Scotties out there. I know you guys don't like us Minnesotans very much, but we've had a few of us cross over and win some games for you. So looking forward to tonight. Couple things that are going on with this game that are going to be really interesting. Wisconsin has won 9 straight, dating all the way back to 2020. So it's going to be an interesting game tonight. The Badgers are coming off a huge win at Michigan. Minnesota's coming off a tough loss in overtime to USC. So we're looking forward to this game tonight. Matt, I got a question for you. What's your biggest difference between the Scotties and the Minnesotans that you feel brings this rivalry out?
Like, are we talking? We're talking basketball. We're talking personality
Talking
of the
humans.
Wisconsin.
Talking
Talking
humans.
humans.
Just straight humans. I know we're a little off script, but we're gonna go with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go to the average Minnesota human being versus the average Wisconsin human being, I feel like they're probably relatively similar, right? You guys appreciate hockey a little bit more than Wisconsinites, but yeah, if you go to your standard town or village in either place, standard Midwest people get tough. They can handle the cold. And yeah, I know Wisconsin is known for elite manners. I don't know if Minnesota is there. And
Dang.
yeah, I don't know. I would say Wisconsin is known for being really, really friendly. I don't think Minnesota matches that level of friendliness. That's what I'll say.
Minnesota nice does nothing for you, huh? We're good. We're too passive aggressive. All right.
I
That's
hear
perfect. That's
Wisconsin
perfect.
nice. I hear Wisconsin nice. I honestly haven't heard Minnesota nice.
I like that. I like that. All right, we can get back to basketball. That was all I needed from you today. So, hey, Matt. So, looking at this matchup, looking at this game, a couple of things. What do you feel like this game is going to come down to today? Obviously, it's a rivalry game. So, there's a couple of key matchups or a couple of key things you're looking for today for our Badgers to come out on top. And what do you expect to see out of Minnesota?
The biggest thing that I want to see from Wisconsin and my biggest key to victory, just in about every single game moving forward, is what Nick Boyd will show up. The Nick Boyd against Michigan, and I'm not saying he needs to go 22 points, 6 assists, 0 turnovers, but what I need to see from him is he has elite speed. So utilize that speed and get your feet into the lane and either create for yourself or create for teammates. And you get shot up on the rim, maybe you get offensive board, but I really want to see him get downhill, get his feet in the lane, and get the start stirring the drink for your teammates. I wanted to see him find Blackwell early on, like he did against Michigan. Found him on a beautiful cross court pass. Like get your teammates rolling, and then once they're rolling, you do your thing. But the biggest thing I want to see from Wisconsin is Nick Boyd just stirring the drink like he did against Michigan. Channel that aggressiveness in the right way, where it's not all about getting buckets for yourself, but making your team better. And then for Minnesota, what I expect to see from them is a lot of older players, a lot of transfers. Obviously, this is a first-year coach they're playing, so they got a lot of older guys. So there should be some solid physicality. They had 2 injuries early in the season. One of their beefier guys down low got injured. So I would just expect, they're going to be a grown man's team. Their chemistry might not be the greatest when you bring in all these different imports, but at the same time, they have one of the best assists per game in all of college basketball. They really move that ball around quite well. So yeah, just expect physicality. And if Wisconsin can, the shots have to fall, obviously, but I think the quality of shots, Wisconsin's going to take a lot of threes. Just don't settle. If Minnesota goes on a run, don't be just hucking up from three with the defender in your face. It's the quality of threes, right? Pick and pop, get downhill, go in and out. Don't be shooting bad threes.
I completely agree with you on that. It's definitely how the backcourt of the Badgers comes out and plays today. I think that's a distinct advantage that Wisconsin has. Obviously, Boyd and Blackwell just putting up huge numbers in the last game, but putting up big numbers throughout the whole season, right? So if they can come out and assert dominance in the backcourt, I think things will go really well for Wisconsin. And like you said, Boyd coming in and playing off of 2 feet, playing under control, getting into the paint, and making really good decisions, and especially early, trying to be a monster in the stirring the drink and setting the table for his guys. Right, that's a big thing. And I also think defensively, it'll be really interesting to see how Wisconsin can handle a lot of the off-ball movement that Minnesota brings. Nico Medved has done a really good job everywhere he's gone of running really crisp offense. They definitely move the ball really well. They have a lot of body movement, and for that reason, that's why they have such a high assist rate for their offense. So I think that's going to be a huge key. And then obviously limiting K Tyson. That dude is shooting the leather off the ball. He's definitely shooting the ball at a high clip. He's a high level scorer. I think he's averaging over 20 a game. Those are the biggest things for me looking at that. And then if Wisconsin can control the glass, if they can take care of the glass, I think they have a really good opportunity to go into the barn and take one away from Minnesota team that's good. They're a solid team. They're not a bad team. They're on the top half of the Big Ten, I believe. And Nico's got it kind of figured out over there. I think he's a really good coach. They're a very well-disciplined team in terms of that. So it'll be interesting to see how they go and the clash of styles a little bit.
Yeah, and I also want to say for Nolan Winter, he's getting hot. I mentioned in the last episode, but I have the numbers right here in front of me. Since the Villanova game, 12 of 23 from 3, which is 52%. His stats are starting to look pretty good across the board, where he is averaging 14.3 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 1.2 blocks, and he's shooting 80% from the free throw line and 34% from 3. Like, now that's starting to look really, really nice. And what I would like to see from Nolan Winter in this game is you got to touch the post. He's not a dominant guy you can put on the block, and he's not the level Steven Crowell was if you just dump the ball down on the block and he can go and do his thing. But he should have enough in his repertoire at this point where you can get a post touch. And even if he doesn't get a shot up, you got it in, and then you're going to be playing back out. So I want to see Nolan Winter put up a 2, because he didn't put up a single 2-point attempt against Michigan. You can't have that happen at nearly 7 feet tall. It just can't happen. So I want to touch the post. Even Belauskas, and neither guy is great on the block, but you got to touch the post a little bit. So I need to see that from Wisconsin tomorrow or tonight.
Yeah, and we talked about that last game right after the Michigan game of just when they're running this 5-out motion side to side offense and teams are switching, right? We talked about that, and we saw that earlier in the season, right? This big to big passing and just finding guys on the high lows, and definitely this game, love to see them do that, because I know there's a couple of guards that Minnesota has that are not as tall, not as physically grinding as some of the guys from Michigan. So need to see if we can get Nolan Winter a couple of over-the-top passes, easy finishes around the rim to really get him going. But it is great to see that he is knocking that thing down from deep right now. Shooting almost 50% over the last few games. We talked about some of his rhythm and his shot mechanics and everything like that, and it looks great. Like we've broken down his shot a few different times on this show, and man, his mechanics, his shot timing, and overall just confidence, right? We've talked about the body confidence and the body language and telling the basketball to go in. And these last few games, it just really looks like he's ready to shoot when he wants to shoot, and he knows those are the shots he should get. And it's great to see him knock it down at a high clip. And it really changes the offense for Wisconsin, right? Belauskas knocking it down at a high clip. I don't know if we're going to get 5 from him again. Maybe he stays hot. Maybe he does. Maybe he's cooking over there and making a few different Lithuanian dishes for us this game. We'll see what happens. But I think, definitely we're going to get more, I definitely see more consistency from Winter shooting the basketball, and I think that's a trend that's going to continue.
So let's say Nolan Winter does keep shooting the ball well, maybe not at a 50% clip like he has the last, 7 games. But let's say Nolan Winter finishes the season out and he shoots the ball well and it stays 34 to 36%. You think we have to worry about Winter going pro?
Possibly.
If you're a Badger fan.
It's possible. It just kind of depends. You're going to see if he's going to get graded out, because he'll definitely go test the waters in terms of the draft process, what Blackwell did last year. He'll go test the waters. He'll go see what's going on over there, look at what GMs are saying. The interesting thing now is the timing of when you have to come back to school, as well as just the opportunity, right? I don't know the numbers that guys are making on this Wisconsin team, but I do know the NIL numbers is going up. And for him to say, hey, I'm going to go play pro and then go and basically take a pay cut, especially if he's not going to be a lottery pick or a first round pick, you're going to take a pay cut to go play in the NBA G League in arenas that are not and playing for brands basically that are not as high profile as Wisconsin. So it's kind of interesting. There's been some big discussions and some things going on within the realm of professional basketball of saying like, hey, college is professional basketball now. It's not that we're calling a spade at this point. People are getting paid. People are making money. There's contracts. It's professional basketball without regulation right now. So yeah, we might have to worry about him going pro if he gets a first round draft pick, but I don't think he's a first rounder. I don't think he's a lottery pick right now. I think he's an NBA player. He has the physicality for it. In terms of, length, size, athleticism, way he moves, he definitely belongs in that realm, in that room, in that hotel, right? He's in that same building. It's just more, can he get there? So for me, yeah, he might want to go test the waters, but also this is a different NCAA now. This is a different league. He can go make a couple $1 million next year. I'm sure Wisconsin will throw a nice bag at him next year to keep him around. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him, but he definitely has a chance if he wants to.
So Blackwell and Winter, and looking at him, I think there is a pretty good shot Blackwell goes pro, even if it's not the best move for him financially. It just seems to me that he's ready for that next step. But boosters, donors, got to make an offer. Those two guys can't refuse. But they would be taking less money. In the G League, you're busing, you're on commercial flights, you're in empty arenas, or you could come back and make more money and be the big men on campus, play in nationally televised games, and kind of have a last dance and go down as greats at Wisconsin. And kind of really leave a legacy if you come back one more year for the two of them. So I think it's very advisable for both of them to come back. But I think if I had to guess right now, it's only January 13th. I would guess Winter comes back, and I would guess Blackwell leaves. But I think, in my opinion, what would be best for the development of their game, best financially, would be to come back for one more year. And you had guys even before NIL coming back to school just for scholarship, right?
Yep.
To enjoy that college experience. Frank Kaminsky came back for his senior year. He would have been a second round pick, but he said, gosh, I look at arenas, and he said this in an article, I look at arenas like Charlotte and it's just empty and it looks boring to me. I'd much rather come back to college another year. And he would joke I remember at the Big Ten Media Day, he said to Teron Petaway, you want a red shirt? Petaway went, why? So we can enjoy college for another year. He said that his senior year of college. And Frank's, kind of unique, but he had guys like Marcus Smart come back for his sophomore year when he easily would have been a first round pick. So that's been around even before NIL, where guys would come back to school even if they had a decent draft stock. Not all the time, but I just wanted to talk about that real quickly. We'll get back into Wisconsin versus Minnesota. I did see Minnesota. They almost lost to Green Bay earlier this year. I was watching that game, and that was Green Bay last year only won 4 games, and Green Bay's having a nice season right now. But at that time, it was like, wow, Green Bay might pull this off. Minnesota has improved a lot since then, and they've been rolling quite a bit in recent weeks. So they've improved a lot. And Mike, a question I want to ask you is, as a former player, let's take a trip down memory lane. What memory sticks out to you? What's a fond memory you have in the Wisconsin-Minnesota rivalry? Because obviously you're a Minnesota kid. I imagine that meant a little extra to you.
Yeah, it definitely always meant a little bit extra to me. That was why I asked you in the beginning of the podcast. I kind of hit you on the blind side with that, but there is a distinct difference between Minnesota and Wisconsin. You guys have far more bars and some better beer, except for Grain Belt. But I'll be honest with you, Spotted Cow he's elite. You guys got that over there. But yeah, it's a heated rivalry, right? There is always this Wisconsin, Minnesota, big powerhouse schools. They've had a really, really long history. I think Wisconsin has played Minnesota like 217 times or something like that. It's one of the oldest rivalries in the Midwest and in the Big Ten. And there is a distinct difference, because I had friends that went to Wisconsin. I had friends from high school that went to Minnesota, and everybody said, hey, Mike, we want you to have a really great game, but better red than dead. We hope you guys lose. So there is always that distinct rivalry. And I just remember very fondly feeling that pressure, especially when I was younger. Freshman, sophomore year was like, man, I really want to show out. I really want to prove that, hey, I was a hometown kid. And And I never really considered going to Minnesota, but I still wanted to show out for people from my state, right? Because I had a lot of
Yeah.
support when I was going through high school. People remember me from playing there. You know, um, I was the Gatorade Player of the Year, the Pioneer Press. I won Player of the Year there for a couple of different things. Didn't win Mr. Basketball. That was Royce White. He deservedly won that, which is it's okay. But I had a lot of awards, so I wanted to kind of prove that I belonged on that level and that I was able to affect winning, and especially affect winning in a place that I grew up in. And it always felt a little bit better when we would beat Minnesota, just because then I could go home in the summer and have that nice conversation with some of my friends, being like, yeah, I go to the rival school and we kicked your ass. So that's something that I always remember. It's always very heated. One thing that happens too is the barn is a really interesting place to play. One of the most interesting arenas I ever got to play in college. I got to play in a lot of places. There's a lot of really great venues in the Big Ten, but the barn is that elevated floor. It's super old school. Like, this kind of feels like you're a throwback into the 1950s. You see some of those black and white films, and you're like, man, this is what this really feels like. And when Gopher fans go out and when they get into that arena, it can definitely be one of the best arenas in the Big Ten, one of the best venues, especially for the Gopher Badger game. It's always a great rivalry, always a great atmosphere. So I really remember my junior year. We were playing really well. We were up like 13, and then in the second half we kind of collapsed a little bit. They came all the way back, and we ended up having to take it all the way to overtime. But great game, really fun time. And I guess a small fond memory for me is Coach Ryan's wife. She would never go to the Minnesota game because of the foul profanity that was stated from the student section always. She never wanted to go to the game because it was consistently F. Bo Ryan, but a more X-rated version or more R-rated version of that. And they would constantly chant that. That might be one of my most fond memories, was walking out, warming up, and all of a sudden just F. Orion. And
the Mike's joining in the chant.
I am not. I was playing for the man at the time. So, it's hard to, we were on the same battlefield. We were doing the same thing, going for the same goal. So, yeah, it's an interesting place to play. The Minnesota Nice goes out the window when the Badgers show up. So that was probably one of my most fond memories, was walking out the first time when I was a freshman and just constantly hearing that, which, I mean, it was for good reason. We have dominated this matchup specifically in the last 5 years, but, overall in the last like 15 to 20, I'd say Wisconsin has had a much better program, much more success. So they can be pea green with envy, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, I will say it is quite interesting how many kids want to leave Minnesota and end up going to the state of Wisconsin. So I will say that. You asked me earlier. I'll throw that out there. Historically, Wisconsin's had a large pipeline of Minnesota kids. And I do find it interesting that you guys don't want to stick around at home at Minnesota. But yeah, do you want to go in? Why did you want to get out of Minnesota and come to Wisconsin?
I mean, when I was going through high school and everything, I struggled a little bit my first couple years in high school, and we lost a lot. And I'm hyper competitive. I am a guy who wants to win. I would like to win more. I'm okay with winning and playing poorly, especially now in my career too. When I was a little younger and trying to make more money, I would be a little bit more frustrated. But when I was younger, I wanted to win more than I wanted to play well. So for me, that was the biggest thing. Is when I was coming up, Minnesota never really had a huge and great basketball culture. I mean, they went to the Final Four in the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s. There just wasn't a great history there, right? They don't have especially in the last 25 years. They had a good run with Tubby Smith and a few of those things, as well as when I was going through high school, they didn't really recruit me so much. That was when I was getting recruited. Wisconsin was like number 1 or number 2 in the country when I committed to them my junior year. That was the year they had Brian Butch and Flowers and Krabenhoft and those guys. That was the team that lost to Davidson in the Sweet 16 and Steph Curry. And then that was when I committed to them. I was like, man, this team wins all the time. They go to the tournament all the time. Why would I not want to go and join that? And then the other thing with Minnesota is, if you've ever been to the 2 campuses, you really understand it. It's very, very different. The University of Minnesota is a campus in a city. And there's always other things going on. There's multiple sports teams. There's just a lot of stuff going on in Minneapolis. There's things to do outside of the campus. And that's the biggest difference between Minneapolis and the University of Minnesota and Madison and Wisconsin. When you go to Madison, the campus is the city. It's not the whole thing, but that's really the main attraction. There's a lot of great things to do in Madison. It's a beautiful city, but the campus itself is, when you go downtown, it's an interesting place because it's ran by 18 to 25-year-olds, and there's not a lot of it's a true college town. There's no other game in town. So that's the other thing that I really appreciated when I was younger. It was, hey, you show up and you are the main attraction. There are people there coming to watch your games constantly. Now, it might be a little bit more of a snooze fest now because we got some ticketing issues, but that's something we can deal with later. But in terms of, just the vibe of the campus, Madison's campus is 10 out of 10. It's one of the best campuses in the country. So it's really hard to turn that down, especially when I've spent time on the University of Minnesota. I've had friends that went there. I've come back and I would go visit them. The campuses do not compare. And that was another big thing that I really, really appreciated going there, going and going to school in Madison. It's beautiful, and they got it going on down there.
Yeah. And I think that is a great spot to end it. But before we do, and if you're watching this, let's see if you can get this before Mike. I want everyone to guess whose t-shirt I'm wearing right here, okay? Number 21, Milwaukee Buck, obviously. And I'll tell you the years. I'll start with the years he played there. He played there from 2016 to 2019. He was a 3-and-D guy. And yeah, I'll start there, and then I'll give another hint. 16 to 19, guy. About 6'6", shooting guard. My other hints would be before that, he played for the Chicago Bulls. All right.
Oh man, this is a tough one.
He played in the NBA until 2022, and he's still playing pro hoops to this day. Played in the G League these last few years, and now he's overseas.
Can you give me the school he went to?
New Mexico.
Got nothing for you.
Okay. I'm trying to think of another hint. 6'6", 213, first-round pick out of New Mexico.
Is it Tony Snell?
Tony Snell. Yes, sir.
I was thinking about it for a second. I was like, okay, the New Mexico got me then. I was like, who came out of New Mexico? Tony Snell, yeah, 3-and-D. Lanky guy, looking for his NBA insurance, which is huge for him. Hopefully he gets it. I think he's pretty close to getting it if he hasn't gotten a contract already.
Yeah, big Tony Snell guy. I just love players who aren't selfish. He wasn't selfish at all. He was a guy who just wanted to win. Didn't mind if he shot 0 times throughout the game. He did his role to the best of his ability. I love Tony Snell. Big Tony Snell guy. Fun fact for you guys. But that is the end of this show. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. And the Brew will be back soon on Wisconsin.